have Jason Schwartz with us tonight. And since 1978, Jason has practiced real estate law and has been involved in international commercial transactions involving various American, Caribbean, and European jurisdictions. Most recently completed a master's in business law. Since 1997, Mr. Schwartz has been the resident legal writer for New Home Guide, Resale Home and Condo Guide, New Condo Guide, Commercial Investor, Cottage Real Resale Guide, and Lifestyle Communities magazines. Mr. Schwartz is the senior partner at Schwartz Law LLP, a full-service business, real estate, and litigation firm with associate offices in Montreal, Quebec, Kansas City, Missouri, Turks and Caicos, and Accra, Ghana. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jason Schwartz.
That strange list of places that we have offices. Hi guys. I'm here today to explain to you that the first thing you need to know is that buying real estate in Florida is really not much different than buying real estate here. The terminology is different. There's a couple of kinks in it. And from the perspective of how you go ahead and buy a piece of real estate in Florida, you have sort of the same ideas. What's up on the screen is talking about the different ways to buy property. At home, basically, you buy property either as a joint tenant, as a tenant in common, as a person on their own, as a corporation, a partnership, or a family trust. Okay? That's the way that you can hold title in Ontario. So, okay, where did I go? Can I have that one back? Here we go. So, in Florida, they have this thing called estate by the entirety. What is that? It's a quasi-joint tenancy. You got to be married to do this one, and it really has more of a tax impact than anything else. You both have to agree to sell it. And like a joint tenancy in Toronto, am I in the way? Like the joint tenancy in Toronto, if somebody dies, the other one gets it. And there's no huge estate problem or probate or all of those kind of things. And we'll talk about the estate issues and probate issues a little later. Paul will scare you about that. Don't listen to him. So they have this weird thing in Florida about money judgments, that you're protected by being continuously married and they can't get half. But this is just one of the ways that you can hold title down there. Effectively, for our purposes, it's like a joint tenancy. You don't really have to care. Can you flip it? Okay, here's the one we all know. Tenancy in common. Two people go and they buy a piece of property, and as opposed to each of you owning all of it, one owns 50%, the other owns 50%. If you get sued, you get a judgment against your half. If I want to sell my half, I could if somebody was nuts enough to buy it. The percentages can be adopted, and if I die, it goes wherever I tell it to in my will. So that's exactly what we have here. So buying in Florida so far doesn't sound so foreign. Yeah. Okay, this is what we have here as well. Joint tenancy with full right of survivorship. We have joint ownership and control. The interests are the same. They originate in the same instrument. Judgments, if you sue one. In Florida, they'll attach. Here, it's an interesting issue. It doesn't. Joinder of spouses required. That means if you're going to sell it, you both have to sign. But that's the same as have joint tenancy here. And on death, it automatically goes to the other spouse. So again, we're back to holding title. And these are terrible ways to own property in Florida. We'll talk about why in a sec. But for purposes of knowing that that's how you buy it, it's easy. It's a no-brainer. You do it. Next one, please. Okay. Before I talk about family trust, you can also buy it, and Paul will get into it in more detail than I am. You can use a corporation, either a Florida company, you can use a Canadian company, you can have a partnership, same as you would here. There's all of these different, the modalities are exactly the same as ours. The only issues for all of us, and they have a weird company down there called an LLC, which is a limited liability corporation that allows tax flow-throughs if you're going to do rentals. Everything from this point onward comes down to avoiding tax. Okay? So far, we've talked about that. You can buy it the same way you do here. But when you buy here, if you buy a cottage, a lot of the times you look at, how do I buy this cottage? And let's use an Ontario cottage property as a comparison. comparable so you understand. We are doing a huge number of family trusts for people that are buying cottages now. Because what they're concerned about is providing for their families as time goes on. You only get one capital gains exemption, so what you do is you put the cottage into a family trust. You have to split it up among the children, depending on how the trust is worded, and you've got flexibility that you wouldn't otherwise have. In Florida, one of the things that we're really concerned about is estate tax. Now, under their legislation, there's a $5 million exemption, which is a big number for most of us, which means why do I care? Probate, which is a different issue, but let's stick with estate tax. The estate taxes are what the IRS collects if you die. Well, wait, $5 million is a big number, except it won't be. In 2 years, the act that gave relief for that and created that $5 million number expires. So 2 years from now, if you got $1 million in assets, the IRS is going to want to know about your entire estate. Not something that's happening. I don't like the IRS. They're not like our guys. They don't have a sense of humor. So, how do we do that? A thing called, what I call, a Florida Family Trust. And Paul will get into a little more detail on it. Really what it is a discretionary family trust that's set up in a specific fashion that allows one of the spouses to give the property to the other one through the purposes of the trust, and you end up being outside the whole estate tax issue. So it's an important thing when you're thinking about it, because to have $2 million to anybody buying a condo in Florida is going to be starting to think about the fact their house is worth $800,000 or $900,000, maybe they got stocks and bonds, suddenly over $1 million. You add in this thing, you are for sure. You know, especially if you buy one of these ones from Baker, and they go up in value 7 or 8 times within 2 years. Okay, Barbara, did I do that good? Okay. All right, the next one, please. All right. You've got to close your year. And up here, the way it works is you go visit your lawyer, you give her a retainer, he reviews your offer, tells you what's going to happen, you go away, 3 months later you come back, 2 months later, 3 weeks, whatever it is, you sign a bunch of papers, he gives you a title insurance policy, and the deal closes. Right? You get a reporting letter, you paid your money, you have statement of adjustments, everything's great. Here's where it starts to get a little weird. This is the closing process of the title company, so you get to understand. Because here's what happens in Florida. In Florida, and anywhere else in the United States in the area of business, you go and retain a lawyer at the front. Because you're going to go and see your real estate professional. They're going to find you that property that makes life perfect for you in terms of the sand between the toes, the beautiful wind blowing in the evening for the palm trees, your wife gazing longingly into your eyes, the first time in years. And what's going to happen is you're going to put the offer in. But you take the offer to the lawyer. And the lawyer reviews your offer. Then the lawyer's done. What do you mean he's done? Well, the lawyer hands it over to something called a title insurance company. Now, in Ontario, we have title insurance for virtually every real estate deal that's done here. And title insurance does 4 things better than a lawyer out there. Gives you lifetime protection on your quality of your title, saves you money on disbursements, stops the fraud stuff. There's one other one that I can't think of, whatever it is. But the bottom line is, it's a very simple process, and the lawyer buys your title policy. Down there, they do it all. They're the escrow agents. So what happens is, the money, as an example, if I was retained by one of my clients to assist in, and we've done it on a couple of them recently, in a Florida transaction, they bring me the money, it goes in my trust account, and I wire it directly to the title company. The title companies escrow the money. They escrow the deeds. They prepare the HUD-1, which is an effective deed. They prepare everything. You get it ready to go. They register the deed. They release the money, and they guarantee it to everybody. The lawyers had nothing to do with it. It's cheaper, it's more efficient, but it's not as warm and cuddly as it is when you see it. There's problems with the system. It is what it is. But the reality, you don't get a lot of the same stuff. But this is how it works. So the title company gets an order. They do the search and they order the commitment. They do a survey. They check termite, insurances, payoffs, title commitment received, Title issues are conveyed, now here's where your lawyers comes in. So let's assume the title insurance company finds a problem on the title. Remember that lawyer that reviewed your offer that you really didn't need? Other than that, now you need him, because he's going to have to get involved in fixing the title. Schedule closing time, lender's third-party documents, review and follow the instructions, conduct the closing, and send out the deeds to everybody. So that's a typical Florida closing. Before you start the process, you really should talk to somebody like me, somebody like Paul, in conjunction with your real estate professional. And they have to refer you to 96 people, so you'll get somebody good. And one of those people will talk to you about how you structure it, because it's a critical issue. And everything in structure relates to what am I going to use it for. Next one, please. So that's just, we talked about the risk. This is what title insurance covers: mistakes in records, missing people, fabricated powers of attorney, fraud, a lot of the same stuff we do. Okay, next one. I don't like that. Okay. So here's your steps. Consult your legal and accounting professional at home. Prepare to purchase, decide how to buy, rate your financing, find the property and the agent, find the right attorney in Florida, have them review the offer, have them retain the title insurer, and close your deal. It's not tough. No matter what anybody's telling you, it is not difficult buying property in Florida. They have virtually the same rules we do. The only issue is you need to buy it properly in the way that you structure your purchase. And again, Paul, who follows me, will give you much more detail because he's an accountant than I am. Look, I made him smile. Basically, that's it. It's oh, you know what? The thing you got to watch out for in Florida. We've all heard about what's going on with the market, the foreclosures, the short sales, all of that stuff. We have to be careful. The difference is, in the foreclosure, as an example, the bank's moving to take possession, they're selling the property, it's empty. A lot of the times, people are stealing all of the stuff, they're breaking things, you don't know what's going on behind the walls after it's been all cleaned up. The biggest issue that you come up with on that stuff, and on the short sales, I don't know if you guys know what that is, that's where they get people in possession, they don't do anything, then they sort of get a sale going, then they get the people to leave. It's really awful. All of it's awful. You don't know what you're getting, and you can put an offer in and be tied up for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, because somebody's fighting it, and you're tied up, your deposit's there. Wrong way to do stuff. Everybody talks about, oh, I bought a property in Florida for $28 because it was being foreclosed. It's crap. Sure, there are people that are doing it, but you've got to have the wherewithal and the intestinal fortitude to sit it out and wait till it clears up. If it does. And sometimes you sit there for 2 years and they sell it to somebody else for $20 more. It's not a good process there. What else is it that I wanted to sort of tell you that was fun? Oh yeah, another issue that people have, and it was one that I had a tremendous amount of trouble with. When the market went, what happened was there were condos where people were losing their units. As a result, suddenly the guys that were left in the building had problems with their maintenance costs. One of the, I normally lecture for people like Carrie. I don't come and do these kind of seminars very often. The reason I'm here is that I have a huge respect for Linda Mitchell, who I've known for a tremendous number of years, more than I care to admit, because she's only 27. And when Linda asked me, I agreed to do it because one of the things that I believe in, and you guys can count on, is that Baker won't take a project until they've researched it up, down, inside, and out. So they're going to know whether the builder's got the money to get it done. They're going to know whether or not there's a reserve fund that's going to be adequate to handle the situation. They're going to know all of this stuff because, Pat and now Barbara have created an image for this company that they're not going to dirty, and they're not even paying me to say that in any way, shape, or form. I'm just, it's really important if you're going to buy, that you buy through someone reputable. In Florida, the biggest problem you got is you need to know who the attorney is and you need to know who the agent is. Because there's kickbacks like you can't believe. There's all kinds of under-the-table deals. That doesn't happen when you deal with somebody like me. You know you're going to get something that you're not going to have a problem with. And that's a big deal. Okay? So, from my perspective, if anybody's got any questions at any time, the girls know how to get a hold of me, the ladies. And it's always a pleasure if I can help people do stuff.